Hi everyone, very warm welcome to InfosecTrain, and I hope everyone is doing great. So today we are here for web application. Then we'll be talking about web application versus website. Next thing is understanding uh, HTTP request methods, the response codes, the headers, right? So these are some of the basic bits and bumps you should know when you are starting into the side of app application security or web application pen testing, right? The very first thing, what we are learning here, we are learning web applications, right? So when we are talking about web applications, how will you define a web application? So when we are talking about web application, a web application is a software that runs in your browser, right? Now, what we have to do is, like we are a business, right? So we have to exchange information and delivers the services remotely. We use web application, right? We can use our web application to connect with the customers conveniently and securely, right? For shopping, for product searching, for messaging, news feeds, everything is a web application, right? Now, the good thing about web application is that it works on client server architecture. Now, what is client server architecture? Now, the thing is, let's say this is a device, this is me, right? I'm accessing a website, right? So for web application to be accessible, it should be hosted somewhere in the network, right? Somewhere there is a web server where the web application is hosted, and you are doing what? You are sending a request to open. Let's say I want to open google.com. So google.com, right? So I will send a request from my browser to the web application server, right? So that web app server will reply back with a page of Google, right? In my browser, the page of Google will open. So what server is doing? It's processing the request that I have sent, right? This architecture is known as client server architecture, and web application uses this architecture only, right? So this is how you define a web application. First thing, it uses client server architecture. Second thing, it you don't have to install it in your device. It can be accessed from the browser only. You don't have to install any software or something, right? Just you need a browser, internet connection, and you will be able to access the web application, right? That's how the thing is. Now, when we are talking about web applications, what are the benefits of web application? So, first thing, it has cross-platform compatibility. That means if I am accessing a web application from a Windows device and you are accessing it from a Mac OS, right? Same web application will open for both of us, right? Second thing, can you can access it 24/7. Whenever you want to access, you can access it, right? Then what else can be accessed from anywhere? What else? No need to install. This is a very big advantage or benefit of having a web application. No need to install, right? What else? Cost effective. Okay. Can I say that scalability is a benefit of web application? Yes, scalability. So businesses, what they do, they use web applications, right? And they can add the users when they need. So without any additional infrastructure or uh, costing, right? You don't have to install any costly hardware or something. You just have to allow to add the users, right? Then next thing can be accessed by multiple users, right? So these are the benefits of web applications, right? Now, when we talk about web applications, right? So we have two sides of web application. First is client side architecture, and second one is server side architecture. Now, when we are talking about client side architecture, what is client side architecture? So the client side script, it deals with you can say user interface functionality, buttons, drop down boxes, right? So when the user clicks on web app link, the browser will load this client side script. It will render the graphic elements and the text for user interaction, right? So user can read the contents, watch videos, or fill out any details or a contact form, right? Now, the actions that user is performing, like clicking the submit button, right? That click will go to the server as a client request, right? Then comes your server side architecture. Now, server side script it deals with data processing, right? Web application server will process the client request, will send back the response, right? Now, the requests are usually for more data or to edit or save new data, right? So if you are, let's say, clicking on a button, right? And you are clicking on, let's say, a read more button. Many times we have seen that, the read more, right? So what happens? The web application server will send the content back to the user. So if the user clicks on submit button, application server will save the user data in the database, right? Posting a request is a part of client architecture, right? When you are clicking post, that is a request which is going from your device, right? Then it is getting posted on your application by the server, right? So these are the two things in web application. Now, when we are talking about mobile application, how mobile application or web application, are they same or different? Different. So why they are different? Because just for an understanding, mobile applications are native apps. Not all, but they are native applications. Now, native applications means these are the software applications which are developed for a specific platform or a device. Like apps are for Android, they are made differently. Apps for iOS, they are made differently, right? They are built in a particular programming language for that purpose. So they are typically acquired by user through app stores or installed directly onto the devices, right? Then we also have apps which we call hybrid apps, right? Correct. Mobile is platform dependent. Then we are talking about hybrid apps. Now, what are hybrid apps? They combine the elements of mobile and web app. So on the face of it, hybrid app will just look like any native app, right? but they are built using programming languages like CSS, HTML, JavaScript, Ruby, right? They are installed on a mobile devices, and to the end user, they look the same. Internally, they are essentially web apps with a dashboard like front end, right? So that's the difference. Clear? Perfect. Now, when we talk about web application, so we have seen this word many times. Like sometimes we say web application, sometimes we say website, right? So many people we have seen, we use these words interchangeably. But are these both words same? Is it correct to use both of these words? Okay. Now the thing is, nowadays everything is a web application. Maximum of things are web applications, right? So when we are talking about the difference about your web application or website, so web application is a piece of software which can be accessed through your browser, right? Now browser is what? Browser is also an application that is installed in your device so that you can browse the internet. Web application needs authentication, right? And it uses a combination of server-side scripts and client-side scripts to present information, right? So there should be a server in between to manage the request from the user. But when we are talking about website, right? Website is a collection of related web pages that contain images, text, audio, video, right? And it can consist of one page, two pages, or multiple pages. Website will provide visual and text content which users can view and read. To view a website, you need browser, right? Multiple websites are there, like restaurant website. So what is the difference? The main difference between web application and website is website contains static content. Now, static content means every one of you has seen uh, Wikipedia, right? Now, when we let's say I'm searching for anything on Wikipedia, let's say a command which is ping command. If I search for ping command on Wikipedia, if I'm searching today about ping, Wikipedia will give me the same page. If I'm searching it after 2 days, it will give me the same content. If you are searching for the same thing, it will give you the same page, right? So that's what website is. Static content which never changes, right? Web application is designed for interaction with users. So in web application, you can interact with it, right? We open YouTube, we use YouTube a lot, right? The page, whenever you open the application, YouTube in your laptop, mobile phone, anywhere, the page of YouTube is different for you and the page for YouTube is different for me. It depends on the choices we have made earlier. Now, why it is different, that's a different thing. Like machine learning is being used, and according to your choices, it is giving you the content. But the thing is, the content is different, right? The songs or videos, it will suggest you, maybe it won't suggest me because choices are different, right? That means we can say web application is dynamic. Agree? Dynamic and interactive also. So is website non-interactive? Yes, it is not interactive for users. Perfect. What else? Any other difference that you can tell? Can we say authentication is a difference? In web application, you have to do authentication. It supports authentication. But website authentication, not necessary. Now, what is authentication? Anyone who is not aware about authentication, or so authentication means checking the user is same who he or she is claiming to be. So if I'm claiming to be Ashish, so authentication will find out if I'm telling the truth or not. It can be username, password based authentication, it can be key based authentication, it can be anything, right? So that is authentication. In web applications, you just have to enter your username and password sometimes, or two-factor authentication is also there where you have to enter your username password also and give the OTP also, right? So that is different way of authenticating, but in web application you have to create yourself an account and do the authentication. On website, content is available free, no need to create an account, no need to authenticate yourself, just view it and done, right? So that is the difference between web application and website. Now, next thing that we have is HTTP. So, the very first thing we'll start with the full form of it, and HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. It uses port number 80 to communicate. Now, when we talk about HTTP, it is an application protocol for distributed, collaborative, and hypermedia information system. So, HTTP is the foundation of data communication for the World Wide Web, right? Now, in this, hypertext means HTML data, nothing more than that, only the data, HTML data, right? Then there is protocol. What do you mean by protocol? How will you define protocol? So protocol, it is a special set of rules that endpoint in a communication use when they communicate, right? So protocols, they specify the interactions between the communicating entities. Now protocol has three parts, right? Protocol has a header, yes, then payload and footer. When we talk about header, what information header contains? So header contains the information about source, destination, right? Then file type, what type of file you are sending, and the file size, what data you are sending, right? Then payload, what information payload contains? Actual data, actual information that you are trying to send. So if I'm sending you a message, let's say I'm sending you a hello, right? So that is the actual message I'm sending, right? The source and destination information will be in the header, right? Then there is footer. Footer is what? It makes sure that your payload data is transmitted free of errors, right? So it has some, you can say, a working, right, which will allow the footer to check if in the payload, in the data, whatever you are sending, there is any error or the data is being sent without any errors. Yeah, we can say cyclic redundancy check can be there, checksum can be there, right? What else? Parity check can be there. So it depends the way they have deployed the mechanism of checking the errors. But yes, is in the footer. Perfect. So this is how you define a protocol, right? Now, when we talk about this protocol, which we are talking HTTP, right? So in 1989, yeah, Tim Berners-Lee, they developed HTTP, right? And they developed these contents with the concept of URL and HTML, right? URL, everyone knows, Uniform Resource Locator, right? Now, both of these things, they did what? They made the foundation of World Wide Web. And the very first version of HTTP was released. What was the first version of HTTP? HTTP 1.0? No, it was HTTP 0.9. That was the first version, right? Now, after HTTP 0.9, 1.0 came, then 1.1 came, then 2 came, then 3 came, right? So all these changes were made. But what changes? What things happened, right? Now, for understanding that, we have to know few more bits that what things were changed. So the very first thing we have to understand for understanding what changes were done in every version of HTTP, we should know first thing the request methods. Whenever you are sending any request to any web application, right? So at that time, what happens? The thing is, we have to know request method, right? Whenever we are talking about request method, whenever you are visiting any web application, you are sending a request to the web application server that I want to access this web application. Now give me the access, right? So whenever you are sending these requests, so these methods are used to tell the target or the target web application server that what to perform, what information you want or what you want to do with it, right? So that's why we have these request method. Now there are many, as you can see on your screen. So the very first one is get. Now what is get? Get request. Every time I open my browser and make a request or open a just I write infosectrain.com in my browser. So a get request will be sent to infosectrain.com, right? And it will retrieve the data from the server. So if I want to request anything, if I want that, I want to open this website infosectrain.com. So let me know if you have it and a get request will be sent. Then in the response, you will get the website of web application of InfosecTrain, right? That is get request whenever you are opening any website. Then after get, we have post, right? Post and put is also there. Now these are the two things, right? Add data to an existing file or resource, update an existing file or resource in server. Now this is the thing which we have heard from very long back, that if you want to update some data, then put request will be sent. If you want to add some data, then post will be used, right? But is it exactly the same which we can tell others? Post, just relate it with your social media. So in social media, you post pictures, right? When you are posting those pictures, if I post same picture 5 times, will it be posted? Or 5 times? That will be posted, right? It will be shown in my timeline. In Facebook, I can upload my same picture 5 times and it won't stop me. On X, it can't. Correct, right? Now, at the same time, if I'm putting a picture, you might have filled forms, online forms, right? So whenever you fill online forms and you have to basically upload your passport, right? So how it looks like, there will be a place where you have to update or put your passport picture, and there is an option browse. So you will click on browse, and after that you can upload the picture of your passport or your own picture, anything there, right? Online forms we are talking about. Now when you clicked on it, you selected the picture is uploaded. Again, if you will click on browse, right? Again, if you will select another image, that other image will be uploaded, the older one will be removed, right? That is put, right? Understood the difference between put and post? Perfect. Next thing, next request method that we have is delete. Now what is delete? Delete the data from the server. So whatever you have uploaded, if you want to delete it, then delete request will be sent. Then patch, that small modification we have to do, because we cannot use put will replace the older data, and we don't want to replace the older data. So if we want to perform partial modifications to a resource, then we'll use patch, right? Then next is head. So when we are just looking at the headers, right, there is no body there. In the body of the request, nothing is returned, right? the, there is no message body, right? But you just have the headers, whatever headers are used while you are making the request or you are receiving the reply, right? So that's called head method. Then there are some other methods as well, like we have connect. It is used to open a two-way socket connection to the remote server. What is socket? Socket, you can call it endpoint of a bidirectional communication, right? Socket is open when you bind an IP to the port number and it starts accepting connections. That's called a socket, right? So if you want to open a socket and connect to any device or let other device connect to you, right? Then you will use connect, right? Then options. Options will tell what are the communication options, what are the request methods which are allowed, which the target device can accept, right? Correct. In TCP IP connection, whenever you connect to any other device, so a socket opens in your device, right? Because your IP will be used, your port number will also be used to do the communication, right? So that's why we call it socket. Then we have trace. Trace is what? Trace is used by developer. So when, let's say I'm a developer, I developed the software, right? Now, after the software is developed, I will check using trace method that if my request is going properly and to my server and server is replying back, and the whole path which my request is taking, all that whole path is free of errors, right? Same like when you write ping 127.0.0.1. That means you are pinging your own self, your own device. You are checking the network interface card of your own device, right? So same like that, using trace, you are tracing back to yourself. So these are the request methods that you should know. Now this is my device. My request will go to some server, right? Let's say InfosecTrain server. InfosecTrain server is there. So my request will go to that server. So in between, what I have is I have burp suite running. Burp suite acts as a proxy, right? That means my request will first go to burp suite because I have diverted my request to burp suite, and from burp suite you can forward the request to the infosec server. When reply will come back, if you want, you can intercept that response sent by the InfoSec server as well, right? If you don't want it, it will directly go to your browser, right? So it is an intermediary person who will check, analyze the request, what request we are sending, and then replying us back, right? Now, when I open Burp Suite, I have put intercept on, right? So if I reload this page, you can see a get request is going. Now, if you see this request which I have sent, this is a get request which I am sending, right? Now, in the get request, you can see it's written host, the connection, close, right? Cookies and everything, right? Every single data is being sent. So whenever what you are retrieving, you want to retrieve infosectrain.com, right? Perfect. Now, when we talk about the head, right? You have seen now the get request. Now, if I talk about head, so let's say, let's connect to any website. Okay, let's connect to this head HTTP. Let's see what it gives. So I'm sending what? I'm trying to connect to a website on port number 80 and I have sent a head request to it. Head on HTTP version 1.1. Yes. Now when the reply will arrive, reply will be having only the headers. Let's see if the website is available or not. Head HTTP slash dot one. Now, NC is a command which is called netcat. Now, netcat is a Swiss Army knife, right? It can open ports for you. It can connect to the open ports. It can do the port scan for you. If you want to find out how many ports are open in any device, then you can use a netcat for it. It can do everything. See, now the reply which arrived, it has HTTP 1.1 bad request. That's okay. It gave me the information about the server. Server is Apache Coyote 1.1. The transfer encoding is chunk, the date, and connection close. Only the headers, nothing apart from this. This is the head request. Head will only has the headers. Get request can have message body. It can take data also with it and travel with the data. Clear? Next thing, we have HTTP status codes. Now, what are status codes? Next thing, HTTP status codes. Now, when we are talking about status codes, what status codes you have heard of? These are the ranges which you might have heard. Yes. So, if your request uh, is in the range of 100 to 199, then it is informational. That means it is giving you information only. Then from 200 to 299, if it is in the range of 200 to 299, then it shows successful. Or if you're uploading something, if you're logging in, then at that time it shows success, right? If it is in the range of 300 to 399, then it shows you redirection. Yes. Now redirection means you are getting redirected from one page to another, one side to another side, or even your protocol redirection from HTTP to HTTPS, you are being changed. Then it shows redirection messages, right? 4xx from the range of 400 to 499, it is client side error, and from the range 5xx, that means 500 to 599, these are server side errors. Clear? If you are getting redirected from one page to another, or if your URL or your protocol is getting redirected, let's say from HTTP to HTTPS, right? Then it is 300, right? It will show you 300. Now, there are some status codes, general status codes that you should know. First is 100. 100 means continue. Continue means you should continue the request, right? Whatever request uh, you are sending, you should continue sending that request and ignore the response if the request is already finished, right? That is the meaning of continue here, right? Then 101. 101 means switching protocols. So if your protocol is getting switched, if your protocol is getting changed, right, then 101 response code you will get, right? Then you might have heard about 200 OK. So the 200 OK means that your request succeeded, and the success depends on the HTTP method. Let's say I've sent a GET request, so I got the response. I have fetched my GET request has fetched the things whatever I need. Head, the representation header are included in the response without any message body, right? Or it can be the output of put or post as well, that your post is successful, or whatever you have uploaded or upgraded, that is also successful, right? Now the thing is, in the protocol that we are talking about, switching protocol, what happens sometimes, this is automatically happening, right? This 300 redirection is happening automatically. But if I want to change the protocol myself, then I will use a header, upgrade header, right? To upgrade the protocol, to switch the protocol, right? From HTTP to HTTPS, I want to switch, so I will use upgrade header in my request, and the output, the response of this upgrade header is 101. Then 200 OK, everyone knows. 202 accepted, right? That whatever data you were uploading, it is accepted by the server. The data, the request has been received, and now they will work on it, but it's not processed yet by the server. Now in redirection, what you have heard, you might have seen 301, which means moved permanently. Yes. Many times we have seen like the URL of the requested resource has been changed permanently, or the website has been moved permanently, and the new URL is given in the response. That is 301, right? You click on it and you will land on the website on the in the new URL or new place wherever it's hosted, right? Yep. Then 302 found. Where found is used. Client errors are your issues. You have done some typo while writing the URL, and then you are getting the errors in the range of 400. So this code, this response code means the URI of the requested resource has been changed temporarily, right? What is URI? Anyone? Uniform resource indicator? Yes. And what it is exactly? So URI is a generic term, right? It gives you the location and name, and it will find out the type of resource, right? Where exactly your resource is, right? So how your resource is different from my resource, right? I have a website, you also have a website. How your website is different from my website? So there is a sequence of characters which will distinguish one resource from another, right? It will be having the scheme name, it will be having the authority, the path, the query you have sent, right? Everything. Now URL is a subset of URI. So when we are talking about 302 found, 302 found means that we have found where exactly the URI of the requested resource is. So it is moved or changed temporarily, but we have found the place and now we are getting redirected to that place, 302, right? Then we have client side errors. We have seen 400. 400 means bad request. Whatever you have sent, the server cannot or will not process the request due to something uh, which is called client side error. Either your request is malformed, or you are sending invalid request, right? Or a deceptive request, right? That's why you are getting 400 bad request error, right? Then 401, 401 stands for unauthorized, right? So unauthorized means that you are not allowed to access this resource which you are trying to access, right? And unauthorized here does not actually means unauthorized, right? It means you are unauthenticated. You have not provided your credentials, you have not provided your username and password, and that's why you are getting this unauthorized. Then we also have seen 404. 404 is, so whatever resource you are looking for, it cannot be found. That means the URL is not recognized, right? So these are some of the status codes in the range that you should know, right? Then in the range of 500, we have seen 500 internal server error, right? So server has encountered a situation which it does not know how to handle. That's why it's giving you error, right? 502, bad gateway, right? Bad gateway means while working as a gateway, the server uh, to get a response, or there is invalid response you are getting from the gateway, that's why it gave you this error, right? Your gateway is not available, right? Then we have seen 503. 503 means service unavailable. Now, service unavailable can have multiple meanings. Multiple meanings means that your server is not allow like ex requesting your it's not accepting your request, right? Or server is not ready to handle the request. But why, right? So this can be the output of an server which is under the attack, under DDoS attack, distributed denial of service. Attackers, they have sent very large amount of data to the target server so that server does not have any resources left to fulfill my request, and that's why it is giving me service unavailable. Another can way can be, or another possibility can be, the server is down, right? It's facing downtime, it's not up and running, so that's why it is showing you service unavailable, right? So these can be the possible meanings or things which show like the server why it's giving you 503. See, bad gateway will always be there when you are not getting response from the gateway. Let's say you do shopping from Amazon, right? Now, when you are doing shopping from Amazon, there is a gateway in between. That gateway is your payment gateway, right? Where you uh, give your card details, then a gateway opens, and that gateway asks you for OTP, right? So if that gateway is not replying back to Amazon, then it is a bad gateway. If Amazon is not receiving any reply from that payment gateway, then it is a bad gateway. Then you will get this request. Then this output, right? 502. 302 means that your resource have been moved to somewhere else for temporary period of time. So if let's say the website is infosectrain.com, right? And when we are sending any request to infosectrain.com, assume that I have changed the place where infosectrain.com is hosted, right? So when it is when you are we have changed the place of hosting of infosectrain, then you will get 302. So you will write infosectrain.com, but the place where it is hosted is changed. That's why it will try to find out the another place where it is located, and once it is found, you will land to the website of infosectrain.com. Before that, you will get 302 as a status code that I have found the place where infosectrain is now hosted. Clear? 503 means service unavailable, that your server is not able to handle your request, right? Whatever request you have sent, the server is unavailable. It does not have resources that it can fulfill your request. Next thing that we have to understand is called HTTP headers, right? Now, when we are talking about HTTP headers, so when we talk about headers, headers will let the user, the client and the server to pass additional information, right? With HTTP request or response, right? So headers, they have case sensitive or case insensitive name, right? And they have a white space. So when we talk about headers, there are four types of headers that you will see, right? Eh, Basically, there are two types only, request and response headers, but two additional which are a part of request response again, right? So request header, then you also have response headers, representation headers, and payload headers. Clear? Now the very first one is request header. What are request headers? They contain information about the resource which you have to fetch. or about the client who is requesting the resource, right? Then we have response headers. Response headers, they hold additional information about the response, like where the location of the resource is, which you have requested, the server information, what the server is, what is the name, what browser is being used, or what server is there, Apache is running, Nginx is running. So all that information is contained in response headers. Then we have representation headers. Representation headers, they have information about the body of the resource, like what kind of encoding is applied, what kind of compression scheme is used to for with the data, right? That is representation header, right? Then we have payload headers. So payload headers, they contain representation independent information about the data, like the length, how many bytes of data is there, right? The encoding which is used for transport, right? Perfect. So what are those headers? What are the different types of headers that uh, we use, right? So we have first authentication headers. So for authentication, we use multiple headers. First one is www hyphen authenticate. This header will define the authentication method which should be used to access a resource. Request header will have information about the resource that you are trying to fetch, right? Or the information about your device, which browser you are using, which uh, encoding scheme your browser supports, everything, right? So it's the information about your device in the request header, right? Response header has the information about the server who is providing that data to you. So you want a song, that song will be sent to you. In that response, your server information is written, right? Which server is, what technology it is using, and how it is sending the data, everything, right? Perfect. Then next authentication header is authorization, right? Authorization contains the credentials to authenticate a user agent with a server. So if you want, whenever you log in to any page or any web application, so authorization header will take your username and password in the request, right? In the form of an encrypted format or hashed format, right? So that is authorization header. Then there are some headers which are used for caching, right? What is cache? So now when we are talking about caching, so we have a header with the name age, right? So age will tell you the time in seconds, that from how many seconds the object is in the cache, right? Then cache control header. Cache control header gives you the instruction for the caching mechanism, how the caching will be done in both the request and responses, right? Then clear site data, right? Now clear the browsing data, like if you are clearing your cookies or storage or cache, right? Associated with the requesting website, then clear site data is used, right? Then for connection management, we use connection header. Now, connection header controls whether the network connection will stay open after the current transaction finishes or it will be closed, right? So if you remember, we captured a request in burp suite, right? So here you can see in the last line it's written connection close, right? So after this transaction, the connection will be closed. In caching, we cannot have a variable like date. It's just age, right? And then in caching, you can also use for date and time, you can use expires, right? Expires is a header which is used to tell the date and time after which your response will be considered stale, right? But like date, uh, there is no variable like that. Then keep alive header. Now keep alive header means how long a persistent connection should stay open. It will be told by keep alive header, right? Then we have content negotiation. Now content negotiation. First is accept, right? So accept is sent in the request. It informs the server about the types of data which can be sent back, right? So let's say I want, I don't know English. Sorry, let's say I understand English only, I don't know Spanish, right? So I can write except English. So the server will reply back the data in English language only. It won't give me Spanish, right? So that is except. What you are allowed or what your browser supports, that we are telling in the content negotiation, right? Then except encoding, right? Except encoding means the encoding algorithm or a compression algorithm which your browser supports, right? Nowadays it's maximum times gzip or deflate. Then except language, right? Except language means it informs the server about the human language the server is expected to send back, right? So many times it is English US, right? If you can see here, sixth line, it's written except language EN US. Yes, perfect. Then we have cookies, right? So for cookie, we have set cookie header, right? So set cookie header does what? It will send the cookie from the server to your device, right? So a cookie is always set for you, right? Whenever you send first request, a server will reply back with a set cookie and it will set a cookie for you, right? So that cookie will be set using this header, right? And then whenever you are requesting, when you are sending next request to the server, right? How it works, this is your device and this is the server, right? So when you are sending first request, server will set a cookie for you. So you are sending a request, get request. Here, server has set cookie for you. Now, whenever you are communicating with the server, next request which you will send, you have to send the cookie which server has set for you. So you will send that using the cookie header, right? So that is for cookies. Now, except is just nothing. It except means it's telling everything, what type of data it accepts, right? And except language tells what kind of language, English I want, right? So it will send reply me, server will send me a reply in English, right? So except is just telling what data type I support or I want. Then we have headers for message body information, right? Now, first one is content length, right? The size of the resource in number of bytes. Session key is also set by the server, right? Content type, right? The type of resource that you are accepting or sending, right? Then content encoding. Content encoding will tell the compression algorithm which is used, right? Content language, right? So it describes the human language which is intended for the audience. So it allows the user to differentiate according to the user's own preferred languages, right? Then in the response, content location is also there, right? So content location indicates an alternate location for the return data. Clear? Then there are some headers for request context. When you are sending a request, yes. So what you are doing is you are sending a request from your laptop, you send a request and you define that what kind of language you accept, right? In the request, you are saying that I want English. Now, when the server replied back, so server replied back with content language header and it's written what is the language used by the server. So English is used, right? So the rest, this is the request and content language is the response of it. Now from request context, from header, right? From contains the internet email address for a human user who controls the requesting user agent. So content location is giving an alternate location. It's not giving the exact location, it is giving an alternate location that if it's not downloaded at the place where we wanted, where it should be returned. Then we have host header. So it specifies the domain name of the server and the TCP port number on which the server is listening, right? Then referrer, heard of it? Referrer. Referrer will tell the address of the previous web page from which the link to the currently requested page was followed. So if you move from one page to another, referrer header will be having the address of older web page and you came to a new web page, right? Then user agent is also there. User agent will have the information about the network protocol uh, and how the others can identify the application type, the operating system, the software version of the requesting soft user agent, right? So it basically will be having information about your browser, Firefox, like it will be written Mozilla Firefox and the version of the device you are using, right? Then we have response context, right? So when we talk about response context, we have allow header. So it will list the set of HTTP request method which are supported by the resource and then server. It contains the information about the software which is used by your server. So these are some of the general headers that you should know. There are multiple headers, like if you will see, so there are like more than 100, right? But these are the general ones which you will see in the request and response, and you will find them in every request and response basically, right? Okay, thank you. Take care, everyone.